All things considered, 2019 was really freaking weird. Think about it. The two big defining hits of the summer were Riding on a tractor, lean all in my blood, and I like when you get mad. Imagine learning that a year or two ago. As I've already said, this was also probably my least favorite year for pop music I've covered. Filling up the worst list was much easier than filling up the best list, trust me. But even so, out of the 89 songs in my criteria, here are the 10 best. Let's get started. Nothing feels better than this. Nothing feels better. Nothing feels better than this. Nothing feels better. Once again, let's talk about Old Town Road. It wasn't just a gigantic hit, it was also kind of a fluke. This song wasn't meant to be a smash hit, it just sort of happened. This put Lil Nas X in a weird position when it came to his next single. If I were to have thought about it at the time, I would have figured that there were two options. Considering that he was still a teenager and had all that fame and recognition shoved on him so quickly, I probably would have guessed that he would have either held on to Old Town Road, like latched onto it for all that it was worth and write it as long as he possibly could, or do everything he could to put distance between himself and Old Town Road. But to my pleasant surprise, he kind of did neither. Hey Panini, don't you be a meanie, thought you wanted me to go, why you trying to keep me teeny now? When I talked about Panini in my fall pop music video, I never really brought up the lyrics, but as it turns out, it's sort of like the lyrics in 21 Pilots' Heathens. Panini is about what happens to the old fans of an underground artist when they suddenly blow up. In Panini, Lil Nas X feels like they became cold to him and he doesn't know why. And it's from that he gives us one of the best choruses of the year. And it's literally just one line. There is such a nice balance in the songwriting here. Lil Nas X knows where he came from, but he also knows where he currently is. There is a level of maturity in that third verse that you don't see from artists that are much older than Lil Nas X. But even better than the lyrics is the composition. This song is very cleanly made and precise, so much more so than anything I would expect from the producers of Mo Bamba. I love the synth, I love the bass, and they even make the trap skitters work. Old Town Road was good enough. Even after the mammoth overplay, I still like it just fine. But it's Panini that makes me excited to hear more from Lil Nas X in the future. Honestly, at this point, I hope that he's going places. He seems like a really nice guy. Makes good music, too. The year-end Hot 100 is kind of weird. Even considering that its calendar year starts in December, things seem really shifted over. Songs from the fall or even late summer are usually more likely to be on the following year-end list. But for the purpose of countdowns like these, I think it's a good thing. It gives me a chance to really sit with a song and solidify my opinion of it. I hadn't even heard of my number 9 until like the very end of 2018 or even early 2019, and it took me a bit to decide, yes, I do like this song. Just keep breathing and breathing and breathing and breathing. I do think that Thank You Next had no good singles, and I would have thought the same thing about Sweetener if it weren't for this. Breathin' should have been a much bigger hit, much more so than God is a Woman or No Tears Left to Cry, which I still don't care for. That's because I can really hear the Ariana Grande I liked from some of her earlier work. That's not because of the drop though. The drop honestly isn't my favorite, it's kind of weak. There are a lot of other better things to appreciate in this song, like the fact that it has a freaking guitar solo in it. Even better than the sound are the lyrics. I don't have panic attacks or PTSD, but I think that by most standards I have anxiety, and this song captures one of the worst parts about it. Anxiety makes every little thing blow up into something huge. There is no future, there's only now, and you just feel trapped. Yes, most of what I've read about is fabricated by my mind, but in the moment it seems so real. But sometimes it really helps to just take a step back and breathe. Pretty much every single lyric of this song rings true. While in No Tears Left to Cry, Ariana Grande seemed floaty and detached, in Breathin' she has both feet firmly on the ground, and I appreciate it. While not her best, Breathin' is still a very good song. But considering what she did afterwards, she probably should have just rested on her laurels for a bit. But that's neither here nor there. Breathin' is great. oh boy, I have some explaining to do with this one.
I'm no good at goodbyes. We're both acting insane, but you're stubborn to change. Now I'm drinking again, 80 proof in my veins.
You might recall that I said in a past video that this would have been Post Malone's best song if Young Thug hadn't ruined it, but my opinion has softened in the months since then. Is this verse good? Not really. Would this song have been better without it? Absolutely. But I've learned to sort of work with it. There are some things about it I've come to appreciate, like how it creates a nice crescendo to the final chorus. But even more than that, post parts are just too good for Thug to drag down the entire song. There are very few verses in pop music that can punch me in the gut like the first verse in Goodbyes can. This is some of the best songwriting Malone has ever given us. He seems to have found just the right amount of anger to put in his breakup songs. He has definitely come a long way since I Fall Apart. But this song isn't just angry, it's a bunch of emotions at once. Defeat, sadness, fear, even simple petty annoyance. It sounds like it came from somewhere real. The beat isn't the best, but that's made up for with the vocal melodies, even from Young Thug. Purely from a sound standpoint, this song is really good. It's not my favorite song from Hollywood's Bleeding, that would be Take What You Want, but it's still really good, even if I don't like everything about it.
I'm no good at goodbyes.
With every best list, I have some very unpopular opinions. I've come to terms with it. Any opinion is valid as long as it's actually your opinion and you can explain yourself. So, with all that in mind, here we go again.
All the bad things disappear. You're making me feel that maybe I am somebody. I can deal with the bad nights.
Even though I understand the appeal of songs like Beautiful People and Here by Alessia Cara, I can't fully get behind them because there's this holier-than-thou attitude to them that I just don't like. As an introvert myself, I feel separate from the social people, but that doesn't make them mindless sheeple, they're just wired differently than me. I Don't Care works because of its simplicity. Going back to the way that social anxiety blows things up, I have absolutely been to parties that seriously feel like they go on forever. But even if you're uncomfortable and annoyed and all you want to do is just go home, having someone you can be yourself with can make it better. That legitimately speaks to me. I like the sound for the most part as well. It's clearly drawing inspiration from Shape of You. It has the same 3-3-2 beat, but just with the first beat removed. But it still works. And just like with Shape of You, it gets really good in the bridge.
I don't like nobody but it's like you're the only one here.
As dumb and cliche as it is, at that bridge, I can imagine myself at this party. The mood is captured perfectly. I will admit that there really didn't seem to be much reason as to why this needed to be a duet, but Justin Bieber doesn't really add or subtract anything. Just like with Shape of You back in 2017, I might be one of this song's very few defenders, but I don't care. I like it a lot. Well, considering how much I hated Hey Look Am I made it, it shouldn't be surprising what's coming next. I swear I didn't plan for both of these songs to each get number 6 on their respective lists, it just happened. Anyway, even after a year, this is still a lot of fun. I'll acknowledge that it's a lot, but unlike Hey Look Ma I Made It, High Hopes actually warrants all the bombast. It's not just happy, it's a celebration. It's a party everyone's invited to. And it also uses its horns very well. I love that trumpet that comes in on the second verse. The only problem I have with the production here is the fact that for some reason they decided to change the instrumentation so that the first half of the final chorus has less backing music and more empty space instead of being a proper payoff. But they definitely bring it back up in the second half of the chorus. Other than that, I really do like the pacing in High Hopes. The first half of the choruses is more segmented and staccato with the horns, but the second half is more focused on the long, sweeping chords, giving some nice variety. It's full of different sounds without being cluttered. It's loud, but in a good way. It's not my favorite example this year of brass in a pop song, that comes later, but it's still really well done. But even despite all that, more than anything else, I just appreciate High Hopes for sounding unapologetically happy. While not for everyone, High Hopes is definitely for me, and well worth a spot on the best list.
Nothing feels better.
Last year I said that my favorite hit was Happier, and I stand by that. It's still a great song. But that doesn't mean I like Marshmello wholly. Songs like Wolves and Silence will always be incredibly boring to me, and Marshmello isn't great with drops on his good days. Happier was the exception, not the rule. But he himself seems to be aware of this because he's really trying to make another Happier. Luckily for him, I'm not bored with it yet.
But I got one thing right. You.
Yet another unpopular opinion this year for me. Even if Marshmello has shown himself to be somewhat of a one-trick pony, that trick still has some charm for me. This has been described as kind of the opposite of Happier, which I get. Happier was built from the piano, One Thing Right is based on the guitar. Happier is about a relationship falling apart despite both parties trying their best. One Thing Right is about a relationship that shouldn't work at all but does anyway. And on that subject, I'm surprised that the lyrics even work at all in this song. There is really no stated reason as to why this girl is so endlessly patient. In fact, this had the potential to be really annoying, like a character that is terrible but all the other characters just for some reason act like is special. But it works here because 1, he acknowledges that he doesn't deserve it, and 2, he's actively working to improve himself and be worth all that devotion. But lyrics don't matter to me as much as the sound, and thankfully this song sounds pretty good. The drop here doesn't work as well as the ones in Happier or Here With Me, but it's still nice sounding, with the steel guitar and electric guitar working together to create a sound that blends together EDM and country. It's definitely not country, it shouldn't have got #1 on the country charts, but it's solidly country crossover. I enjoy the pacing in this song a lot. Marshmello isn't good at drops, but he is very good at build-ups, and the final build-up in One Thing Right is one of his best. I appreciate the banjo use. Eventually, I'm going to get bored with Marshmello making the same song over and over, but that day is not today. In my book, he can still get something right. Old Town Road brought country and country crossover right back into the mainstream this year, and there were a ton of country hits. Like all years, most of them weren't really my thing, but every year there always seems to be one that rises up. But this year, there was a country song that did more than rise up. It blew me away.
I saw the light in a sunrise, sitting back in a 40 on the muddy riverside, getting...
One of my favorite acts in music at the moment is Hidden Citizens, and they make very epic, sweeping music. Seriously, listen to any of these songs. They're awesome and the best workout music I know of. It's rare to get that same kind of vibe from a pop song, but this song has the weight and grandeur. What's kind of odd is that there isn't even much instrumentation here though. There's no strings or horns or heavy synths. The most prominent instrument in the chorus is percussion. But holy crap, that singing sells it. They believe what they're saying. This is God's country and they want you to know. And I say they because the background singers are just as important as Blake on this song. The female voice on that last chorus, I believe her name is Kara Britz, adds so much. It reminds me of the way that the female voice in Gimme Shelter works so well to make the song sound huge and important. Most of the reasons why I love this song boils down to how it sounds, but there are some pretty good lyrics, even if the way they're said is kind of awkward and doesn't flow very well. One problem with modern country music is that it just acts like it can list off cliches and people will let it slide. God's Country is that idea, except they actually make those cliches sound incredible. It's rare to hear a country song that sounds so genuinely cool. I doubt something like this will happen again anytime soon, but for the time being, I'm grateful that this song exists. Long live God's Country. Every year, there are always songs that would have made it to the best list if they had charted better. And while I know that Good as Hell will make it on the 2020 year-end Hot 100, there are still songs that are on the bubble or just never had a chance in the first place. But when looking at the 2019 year-end, I was very surprised at what I found at almost the very bottom. Surprised and excited.
Walk me home in the dead of night. I can't be alone with all that's on my mind.
This song is so good that when I first heard it, I assumed that it was coming from the old Pink. You know, the one that was actually punchy and exciting. But no, this is current. And if the trajectory of her pop success is any indication, probably her last mainstream hit. But man, is this a good note to go out on. I've never heard her go for such a folksy sound before, but she absolutely makes it work in Walk Me Home. The main problem with modern Pink is that her songs just sound too limp and slow. That is not the case here. This is powerful, driving, and fun. I'm sure there are a lot of other artists who could have made this song, but there aren't many who could have made it work as well as Pink does. With her, it's very clear that she doesn't feel like she needs to be protected from all the things going wrong outside. She can take care of herself, she just wants some company. It's simple, but it works. I do question why she chose to start the song with whatever this noise is. Other than that, the instrumentation is really good. The simple rhythm and percussion convey walking very well, and the melodies work to keep the sound from just being plodding and repetitive. This song just barely squeaked by, ending up on the year-end charts on the skin of its teeth, but it was completely worth it. It's one of my favorite Pink songs and one of the best songs of the year. I mean, I said it was my favorite hit of the year in my spring video. You knew it was coming.
Baby doll, when it comes to a lover, I promise that you'll never find another like me.
Me would have made it in the top 5 purely on sound alone. No other hit this year even came close to sounding this good. None were as polished, none were as catchy. This is the best use of both horns and marching band percussion I've ever heard in a pop song. They really cracked the code with this one. This is a top tier song in the audio department. And that makes sense considering who's behind it. Besides Swift and Yuri, this song was co-written and co-produced by Joel Little, who has done a ton of work in the past with acts like Lorde, Khalid, and Imagine Dragons. It also does pretty well with its lyrics. Honestly, this is a much more empowering and inspiring song than You Need to Calm Down could ever hope to be. And that's because there isn't even really a message to it. It's just a celebration of individuality. And seriously, for a silly, fun pop song like this, it doesn't need to be anything more than that. I like music that's complex and challenging as much as the next guy, but every once in a while, pop music can just be used as an escape. And when I'm listening to this song, I feel happy. And I'm not sorry about that. You can think it's mediocre and playing it safe all you want, but in my opinion, this is one of the few truly bright spots in 2019 pop music. When I listen to the outro of this song, all is right in the world. I will put up with any number of You Need to Calm Downs and Hey Look Ma, I Made It if I can still get songs like this. But, you may ask, what topped it? We'll get to that later, but before that we need to talk about honorable mentions. Normally I have 5, but this year I could legitimately only come up with 4. Here they are.
I've been having dreams.
This song is all about dreaming, and the atmosphere it creates works very well for that. This is also one of those songs where the individual lyrics don't really matter as much as the tone that they create, but I will say that The Crushing Weight of Paradise is one of the best lines of the entire year. If it takes commercials to get indie songs on the charts, so be it.
How many times did you ride a lot? How many niggas done died a lot? How many times did you cheat a lot?
I normally don't care for 21 Savage, but in this song his monotone actually works really well to create a very somber atmosphere. It's such a plainly shown view of his life, as well as just the world around him. And J. Cole's verse is one of the best of 2019. That line about 6ix9ine is incredible. This is the kind of song you think about for hours after it ends. Very well made and impactful. I have to give this song a lot of credit. Even despite how much it was overplayed this entire year, it never got old. It was a relaxing, soothing pop song when I first heard it, and it's a relaxing, soothing pop song now. Sunflower is pretty segmented, with Lee and Malone's parts not really connecting with each other at all, but both of them do something different to contribute to the mood. Not the most memorable, but very good. This is the only honorable mention I'm kind of sad didn't make the list, but Panini edged out. Still, this song has grown on me a lot. Every single line in this song is good. Lizzo has proven herself to not just be a force of personality, but also incredibly talented. If Good as Hell was on the year-end list, it would have been number 2. But it will have to wait for 2020. In the meantime, Truth Hurts is awesome. But now it's time for number 1. This number 1 kind of crept up on me. This summer, I remember hearing a song on the radio, and it immediately got my attention. Like, enough so for me to make sure that I knew what the song was called so I could find it on Spotify later. Eventually, I did just that, and I liked it a lot, and every time I heard it, I liked it a little bit more. When I saw that it ended up on the year-end Hot 100, I knew it was gonna have a spot on the best list, definitely, but I didn't think it was gonna be number 1. But once I was done listening to all 89 songs, I realized that out of all of them, this one is something really special. Number 1 couldn't have gone to any other. So, with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the best hit song of 2019. People often compare Billie Eilish to Lana Del Rey, but in this song, I'm definitely hearing more Imogen Heap. I find it hard to believe that a song like this could ever be a hit, but it happened, which means that pop music is changing for the better, even if in a small way. This song is absolutely beautiful and genuinely powerful in its emotion. When the Party's Over was written and produced by Billie's older brother, Phineas O'Connell, and this is something I never would have expected from a former Glee actor. This song has such a strong grip and control over its own atmosphere, and not a single moment is wasted. I originally liked all the song except for this part. Call me friend, but keep me closer. I thought that came out of nowhere until I realized that that's the mask slipping. She tries to act unaffected, but in that moment she shows how much she wants this person, or at the very least doesn't want to be alone. I also have to give Billie Eilish a lot of credit. This is an incredible performance from her. This song is pretty much tailor-made for her voice. I don't think I'll ever be able to get into songs like Bad Guy and Bury a Friend, but When the Party's Over made me 100% understand why Billie Eilish became such a phenomenon this year. It's not often that I can see a situation and the feelings within it painted so expertly in a song like this. Everything just comes together. The big things, the little things, the obvious parts, the subtleties. That moment where the crickets come in and she says that she needs to let go is the best musical moment of the year. 2019 was a year of change for pop music, and I hope from the bottom of my heart that this wasn't an accident. If this is a sign for what's to come in the 2020s, I'm welcoming it with open arms. But until then, When the Party's Over by Billie Eilish is without doubt the best pop song of 2019. Thank you everyone for listening. I'll see you again in 2020.